Hi everybody, it's great to be back here again. Tomorrow we are going to begin a lecture series on the laws of Passover, the holiday, getting ready, preparation for the holiday, and we'll see what we can cover. We'll try our best to begin this year and add to these lectures eventually. I am beginning, some of these lectures will be based on the book called Pinei Halacha from Eliezer Melamed, the Rabbi of Bracha, and we'll see. Other lessons will come from other sources. But let's get down to business. First of all, the holiday of Passover, as we know, has different names. And if we look in the Torah, we find there are two names. One name is called Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of the matzah. We're all familiar with the word matzah. And another name given in the Torah is called Pesach, Passover. It says Chag, Zevach Chag HaPesach, it says in Exodus 34:25, it calls it the Passover holiday. So, of course, we know everything is in a name. A name reflects a lot of meaning behind names. And why are these two names written in the Torah? What do they stand for? In reality, they reflect two sides. They reflect the side of faith, emunah, which we will see is reflected within the matzah, the name of Chag HaMatzot, and another side called Sgulat Yisrael, the choosing of Israel, that God chose the nation of Israel, because we look in the holiday, we see how these two things, the choosing of Israel and, of course, faith, these are all principles that come out of the story of Egypt. And if we begin, we talk about faith. How was faith revealed when we left Egypt? Well, we see that if we follow the story of the enslavement of the people of Israel in Egypt, we see God's leadership behind the scenes in the most powerful way, and becomes, of course, in front of the scenes, it becomes so revealed and so obvious, and that's exactly what happened. Why do we eat the matzah bread, which is not bread, like the matzah, the unleavened bread? We eat it because it didn't have time to rise. The redemption came, Hashem intervened and took us out of Egypt, and that's reflected, of course, in the matzah. The other side, we mentioned the Sgulat Yisrael, the choosing of Israel, is reflected in the name of Pesach. And why is that? Because God, what does the word Pesach mean in Hebrew? Pesach in Hebrew means to pass over. And God passed over Israel when he brought the 10 plagues to the Egyptians. And Israel being spared literally is reflected in the Passover sacrifice, the Korban Pesach, as we say in Hebrew. And these two principles of faith and choosing Israel are dependent on one another, as we all know. The nations of the world, and we spoke about this in the past, they establish their nationhood by through the basic human goals of setting up a nation, of coming together, building their country, whatever it comes to be, joining common goals. That's really what the cause of most nations coming together in the world. But in reality, the people of Israel was not something that was a human creation as their nation. It was something that was totally divine. And we see this, that Hashem establishes the nation of Israel through the bringing about of miracles and wonders, and our receiving Torah in that same fashion. So we think about it, Israel, the status of the nation in the world as a nation of Israel today is totally dependent on our connection with Hashem. And when we follow the Torah, and we follow the word of Hashem, we are blessed. But God forbid if we do the opposite, we'll bring curses upon ourselves. And this is something that is only directly manifested in the people of Israel itself. The nations of the world are more ruled by nature. And that's why you will see, when we say every day, we read the Shema, the Kriyat Shema in the world, our commandment of praying twice a day. God is one. What do we say right away? When we say the Shema, we talk about how if we follow Hashem's word, we'll be blessed, and if we go against Hashem's word, we'll be cursed. So it's reflected literally on the bounty, on the rain coming down from the heavens. Immediately we are tested on this. If we don't, God forbid, follow Hashem's way, we will be tested with the heavens being closed for rain. And the nations of the world don't have this, right? Egypt, look at Egypt. Egypt had the Nile River. And they don't have that struggle like we have for praying constantly for water. So that's an important principle, as we mentioned. Now, if we look, it is the function of the people of Israel to bring God's name into the world. As it says in Isaiah 43:21, it says, Amzu yetzalti li tilati yisapeu. I created this nation to declare my praise. And this is what our rabbis teach us, that Israel preceded the creation of the world. It was within the divine plan to set up the nation of Israel before the world was created, because Israel comes together. Again, as we mentioned before, faith and Israel are sort of work together, because Israel is the one that reveals the creator of the universe. And it is our job to teach the world of faith. And this is why the Talmud in the Tractate of Shabbat on 88a says, God made a condition on creation. If Israel will receive Torah, then the world will exist. The world will exist. If not, God will turn the world into a place of null and void. It will revert back to its original state, where before God created the world. And that is why the holiday, this is how the holiday of Passover is reflected within Sgulat Yisrael, the choosing of Israel. And despite that we were slaves, and we went all the way down 49 levels of uncleanliness, God shows us. It shows the choice of Israel something beyond human understanding. It's something divine. And that together, of course, with the aspect of faith in the world, that through the nation of Israel, people will come to faith, come to the belief in Hashem in the world. This is what I spoke about many times when I was traveling, about how if a person looks at Israel as a nation and sees how there's a God in the world, follow the map of Israel. And it all begins with our forming of a nation in Israel, of course, in Egypt. There we reached a certain number and we became a nation. And again, everything about that whole process is a godly process in the world. So again, those two names, Pesach, reflecting God skipping over Israel, in other words, choosing Israel, skipping over them for the plagues, and the other name, Matzot, which reflects the faith. We're going to talk more about these aspects, of course, later. And this is really, these two names are mentioned in the Torah and the two sides of the holiday. We will learn about, of course, Hashem strengthening our faith in God and understanding the people of Israel, why God chose Israel as a nation. Okay, we will continue, God willing, very soon in our next lesson. Bye-bye.